Maybe let's start with
Um,
who you are first, like a small introduction, maybe.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so hi everybody. I'm Shreya. I am from Gurgaon. I am by education I'm a BTech graduate, but I work in the marketing field. And yeah, I have been kind of traveling and taking pictures and all for around I think 8 years now. And through that I've sort of built a community on Instagram. So yeah, that's how this started. That's how this conversation also came into play. So yeah, that's where I am.
All right. So I was saying, how exactly did you, begin photography, or how did you find that to be a passion?
Yeah, so in terms of beginning, like I was saying earlier also when I think I wasn't audible. So basically we used to take a lot of trips when I was young, like when I was in school. So we used to go on a lot of family trips. So for one of those like we used to have those reel cameras back then, the
Film
traditional
camera.
cameras, yeah, film cameras. So now I never got to use those because limited number of reels. So obviously I did not want to spoil a photograph. But then for one of the trips, I think in 2010, we borrowed a digital camera from a friend of my dad. So we took that on a trip, and we realized that it was just fun. So then we bought our own small point and shoot camera. So I think that's how it started. Like we just traveled and we like to take pictures like my dad basically. So because of that, the whole photography thing started. And then when I graduated out of school in 2013, my parents got me a DSLR. So that's where I would say 19 frames sort of started.
What's the earliest photograph you remember?
um I think there was this yeah, some I think some flowers that we took that I took a picture of on my trip to Nainital. So yeah, I think flowers are the first thing that I remember capturing, and then my parents saying, "Wow, that's such a nice picture." So yeah, that's what I would say. I would remember that I thought, "Oh wow, that's such a cool picture that way."
So that was on the first digital camera, is it?
Yeah, yeah,
So you said your parents were the one who, gifted you the first DSLR. Was that like,
yeah.
did you get into an artistic style before that, or did you just get the camera and then start exploring?
I'm not really sure because I think it might have been after that, because before that the sort of phones also that we had, I remember I think I had a Corby before that. And the point and shoot cameras also, there was not a lot of say options to try out and modes to try out. And also I don't know if it happened before that also, but yes, I do remember that even after I got the DSLR, I only took it on family trips, and other than that all the photo walks that I went to were with my point and shoot only, because obviously a DSLR was a big deal and I wasn't allowed to just take it anywhere at that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I was in that phase where I was using both. And yes, I did capture some pictures through my point and shoot also, which made me feel really nice about it. Like there was this random picture of a flower laying on the ground, and I thought, wow, it's so beautiful and aesthetic. And yeah, so it was like that. It was a mixture basically.
So you're talking about the picture you put up on your Instagram, right? This is the very one of the first few. A
Yeah,
yellow
it's
flower,
one
I
of
think,
the
on the
first few
road.
pictures. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was very proud of that picture at the time.
It is a good picture, like at least to begin start off with, maybe. And
It's the beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder thing, and also a very beginner thing. So,
yeah, it's like
yeah,
cliche. So
yeah.
like, when did you start putting it up on social media? Like, what is the motivation behind that?
Yeah, so as for that, like I had a private account, and back then private accounts were also open because you didn't sort of mind that thing, because uh, um how do I put it? Like not a lot of
People
outside
were there,
people. Like people
yeah.
used to put my personal pictures there, and then I just put up one or two pictures from a trip that we went to, and
Okay.
I sort of used 3 4 hashtags on those, and I realized that they were getting more traction from like other people also. So I realized that I wanted to not share everything with everybody at that point of time, especially. So I made that account private, and then I started this other account. So that's how 19 frames basically started.
So like, at what point did you realize the scale of this, right? Is it like just numbers on a screen, or did you at some point realize like it is so huge of a community that you built?
So I think I sort of realized that 4 years into starting 19 frames, I was at this photo walk, and like it was a photo walk I had organized for the organization that I just started working with, and
Mm-hmm.
this was in Bangalore. So I'm from Gurgaon, but that first job was in Bangalore, and we were just talking. Like we had the circle, and we were like introducing ourselves, and like I was the, you could say, moderator of that photo walk. It's been so long, I've even forgotten the word for the person who organizes it. Organizer is not, maybe it is, but anyway, yeah. So I introduced myself towards the end, and we mentioned our Instagram handle. So I mentioned that I'm 19 frames, and there was this guy who is a good and experienced photographer, and he was like, "Oh, you are 19 frames." So he actually knew 19 frames, and then he was shocked that, "Oh, I am 19 frames." And then I kind of realized that, okay, I am in a new city, I'm meeting strange people, and those people don't know me, but they know 19 frames. So that is when I sort of realized that, okay, I have been reaching out to people and in ways that I don't even know.
Yeah.
So that was that.
S- so like, was it like a steady growth, or like one picture like went viral and then it took off?
No, no, it was a very steady growth. There was no virality. There were like one or two pictures which got good traction in between, but there was no virality, not with my account. Especially because I've been very inconsistent with it, especially in the last few years, last 2 3 years, I would say.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
but you start posting like on all platforms, right? You start posting on Facebook, you start posting on Instagram, and I think you even posted content on Snapchat.
Snapchat, I was there in the middle, but no, I never posted anything there. And Facebook was like whatever I was posting on Instagram, I was posting through Facebook also. And I was a part of some communities on Facebook, but that was also for a very brief period of time because I realized that I wa- um, I at that time wasn't ready to put that much time into just 19 frames. It was more of a fun, casual side thing for me, so that's how I always took it.
Like, when did you find out, like, or when did you realize rather that Instagram was the place to go? Like, you stopped posting on Facebook and all other places. Like, Instagram is your biggest community, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I think this happened because like throughout college also I had been into marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So more into the digital side of it. So I was exploring these platforms and I also realized that Facebook had been dying down, especially in terms of these things. It wasn't the case when I started, but eventually it did happen. Like Instagram became the next big thing and Facebook was dying down. It was becoming more of an ads platform and more of what people just scrolled through. And Instagram was becoming the place where people would engage with each other and build more communities. So that's how I think eventually I stopped with Facebook because I think I realized that it wasn't worth the effort at the time. And yeah, I just did Instagram only.
This was around like 2016, right? Like, when you stopped
Probably,
posting on
probably.
Facebook. Yeah, but
Yeah.
that was like pretty early to realize Facebook is like on a downfall.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think it was because I was into the marketing side of it as well. So, I could see the impact happening, not just like I could see it from a how do I call it, from a corporate or business end as well. that
Yeah.
people had started showing lesser and lesser interest, and like in terms of the audience also, the reach and engagement in just interaction had gone down on Facebook a lot. So and especially for photographers, Instagram was a good place, um, especially if I'm comparing. So that's how I decided to like just stay here and focus here.
So when you like post a picture or a story, do you get into the analytics of it, like how many views this makes, at what time is the right time to post to gauge the most interaction?
Honestly, like this account has been there for so long. I have done like almost all of it in phases. So there have been phases where I have been very focused on these numbers as well. I've tried some strategies also, like you like of course the right time to post and everything is there, but like you use these certain hashtags, or you just post and then you interact a bit before and after, and I tried all those things. But then again I realized that it's too much effort to either do it consistently, and I'm kind of a lazy person that way, you can say. So yeah, I've tried everything, but I've never, like, I think, stuck with anything. So
So what I'm trying to ask maybe is like, was this combination of both your marketing side and your photography side, like is this a passion project of both your passions, or is it a separate thing on its own? Like, do you turn off that part of your brain when you're posting here, or do you never
see,
turn that off?
initially it was a bit of both, like photography plus a bit of marketing, especially because I did start off with social media marketing. But then I realized that due to other reasons also, I needed to switch off my marketing brain at some point of time, because otherwise I would just get sucked in too deep. So
Mhm.
yeah, then I try to keep it just photography along with some certain things like hashtags and all, of course. But then like if I was putting a lot of marketing into it, I would probably say change a lot of hashtags or put a lot of emphasis on the timing that I'm posting it at. But I personally have stopped doing that. So yeah, I can say that I know the marketing bit of it, like I know what should be working or what I should be doing, but I kind of have stopped doing it for now.
Yeah. So I mean, like, you grew such a big audience, right? Like, have you ever tried to monetize this?
So see, I have done collaborations in the past, and the thing is that I think the timing has been a bit off for me, because a- um at the time when this account grew, which was during the initial years, because back then it was very easy to grow on Instagram, especially if you had good content. But eventually over the years it became tougher and tougher, and with that, like I told you, I stopped being consistent here as well. So brands obviously see all that. But yes, I have done collaborations, I have like been on a few trips, I have done some product collaborations. But again, in terms of, if I say would that monetization have been enough to like sustain this page individually, then in that case I would say no, and I haven't done that much, because again, consistency.
So, all right. So, let's talk about the name, right? 19 frames.
Yeah.
You chose like an mm, a, let's say a brand name. Is that reasonable?
um in a way, yeah.
Like, what's the story behind that? It's just the age.
um Again, so this was like, this page started at a time where most of the photography pages were like this person's name
Yeah,
photography, like I would have been Shreya Agarwal photography. And
yeah.
one thing I knew for sure is that I did not want to go that way. So I was just thinking of names, and obviously it was a photography page, so I thought of terms that were, say, related to photography. And I don't know, for some reason, like the number 19, I kind of liked it, and I was 19 years old at that age. And it was honestly a very random process of coming up with the name. And I thought that 19 and frames went along pretty well together. And then I just like put 19 frames there. And then I obviously had thought that, okay, 1 or 2 years down the line, I'll change it. Maybe I'll come up with something better and I'll just change it. But then every time I thought of changing it, it seemed like, no, like I have built a community or a brand around it. So maybe I should just keep it the same. So I just stuck with it. Yeah.
Like, w- that's interesting that you say you wanted to change it like down the line. Um,
Yeah, yeah, because when I kept the name, like I told you, it was a very random process. It wasn't a very well thought of, or, just, it doesn't have a very strong reasoning or meaning behind it.
but you
Like,
went
at
to the
least at the
trouble
time
of
of
creating
keeping
a
the name.
logo.
Oh, so that was a friend in college, and so he was very interested in designing, and we were like, oh, this could be, a pretty cool thing. And since he was just starting out with designing, this was also a kind of experiment and fun thing to play around with for him. So he created the logo for me.
Uh, so the logo was basically your name, right? Or like
Yeah,
written in
my
the form.
name
Yeah,
written in 19. Yeah.
yeah. So at, at what point did you stop watermarking your photos?
So I think when I think it was around the time that I started using my phone to capture pictures and I started liking those pictures. I think it was around that time that I stopped watermarking them. So I had gotten my One Plus Two 2 years into college, and of course it was a huge, like in terms of camera, it was a
Camera,
huge
yeah,
leap from a Samsung Quattro.
yeah.
So I just took some pictures, and I don't know, they just seemed to turn out really well, and I wanted to change something in my page to reflect that there is a change that's happening in terms of my process. So I think it just happened that way. And also, like, over the years, realized that the logo might have been a little tacky. So I thought of, yeah, stop. Like, I think I thought that I could stop using it and that nobody's stealing my pictures for now, so it's cool.
So at the beginning, right? You never put your name as the account's name. It was just at
Yeah,
19 frames
yeah,
and 19 frames. So did you
yeah.
want to keep like your identity away from that? Like you didn't want to put your name out there? Was it like that?
Yeah, sort of. Like, I hadn't, like, except these one or two friends and obviously my family, I had not told anybody about 19 frames. I had thought that I'll do some great things with this account, and once I feel like I have succeeded in doing something, then only I'll reveal that, oh, that was me. And before, because again, there were so many people who were just starting their photography pages, I did not want to come off as another person who's just
Yeah.
doing that. So I wanted to build something first and then let people know that, okay, I am the one behind it or something like that.
I find that to be very interesting because your first was just the logo and the logo is literally your name.
Yeah, yeah. But then again, like, I hadn't told my friends about it, right? So or the people I knew about it, so random people wouldn't know who Shreya Agarwal is. So that was like just okay.
All
So
right.
yeah.
So like in when you talk to somebody in real life and they ask you what you're doing, how often do you bring this up in the conversation? Or at what
um
point do you bring this up in the conversation?
I think it comes up a little late. Like, this comes up when, say, I'm talking about my interests or things I like to do in my free time, that I also do a bit of photography. And then yeah, maybe then. And mostly it comes up when like, if I am meeting a new person, for example, and we are, say, exchanging Instagram IDs. because then I'm in a dilemma which Instagram ID to interact with them with.
So
So
are you still active on your personal account?
yeah, yeah, I'm active on that.
Oh, how
Yeah.
about like in terms of jobs, like when you're talking to somebody professionally, like do you bring this up as
Yeah.
like an experience? Like this is
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
see this to
19
be.
frames. Yeah,
Go
yeah.
ahead, go ahead.
19 frames is there in my resume also.
Mm-hmm.
So, in fact, I'll say this account has helped me land a few jobs also during my initial years, because at that time, like I said, I was into the whole social media, digital marketing space, right? And more social media part of it. So, when I would present this, people would see it as a portfolio and they would see it as something that I've grown myself. And since that was what basically my job was also supposed to be, so
Yeah,
it has kind of helped me in those situations as well.
yeah, that's nice. So, like, if you look at your page, like how what percentage do you think it represents you as a person? Like the
Um,
things you do,
I'm
your
not,
interests, maybe,
yeah, I'm not sure how to answer that actually. Like, I
or
don't know. I think
put
I'll
in
have to
another
go
way,
through it once.
put
Yeah.
in another way, how different is your like personal account compared to this?
So my personal account has more pictures of myself with my friends. In fact, I just noticed it a couple of months ago, I think, that in my personal account, every picture has me in it, and here, almost like I have, I think, 4 or 5 pictures out of the 350 plus pictures that I have, which have me in it.
Most of
So
them were
that's
recent.
there. Yeah, exactly. Because that's a change that I have been trying to bring in. And yeah, I am a little slow with it, but that's something that I try. But yeah. So
So
that's one major change. Yeah.
so like what point did you decide it is now like worth it to put your name in it, like bring in your identity onto the page? Like I think it was pretty
I
recent you put your name up.
no, no, I think it happened at least 2, 3 years ago.
Yeah, relatively
Yeah,
recent compared to the entire page.
relatively recent. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know. Like, if I can see it, it happened in 2018, when on my birthday I put up my picture for the first time on my profile. Yeah, before that it had happened once back when I was in college, and there was this event that I went to which had a treasure hunt sort of thing, and in the end you were supposed to put up a picture of yourself. So I had put a selfie up then. That was back in, I think, 2015 or 2016.
16. Yeah.
And wow, you've done a thorough research. Okay. Yeah, so that I had put up, and for some reason I hadn't taken it down, because at that time you didn't have the option to archive photos as well either. So you could just delete them. And for some, like, obviously, like on Instagram, you've seen that pictures of yourself get more engagement and everything than other pictures, right? So
Yeah.
that picture had gotten some good traction as compared to the other pictures I was putting up. So for some reason, I couldn't bring myself to delete it. So over the years, I just thought of it, how my growth had slowed down, because it was something I wasn't very open to doing, like sharing my own pictures. And then I kind of talked myself into it that fine, maybe I can go ahead and do with it. Like, I'm not Batman. Itna bhi, like, what is this level of secrecy that I want to maintain? So I just thought of, okay, like, I'll do it. So I think that's why randomly in 2018 on my birthday I posted a picture of mine. So yeah.
So now in recent times, I see you bringing in your family also. You're like posting pictures of you. I think you did a reel with your mother.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
And I put up some pictures of my sister.
of your
And yeah,
painting and all, right?
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's mostly because like, I'm sorry, I didn't even hear your question. Like, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask, like, at what point did you want to bring in a change of content? right? Up until this point, it was just photography. Now you're bringing in art. You're making reels about food, and you start throughout the years. You start posting pictures about, I mean, stories of memes and stuff.
Yeah, so again, like initially it was more of like more about photography for me, like this page. But then I realized that I have so many people that I can also connect to in many other ways, and like I am not just my photography. So why not bring a little bit of that into it? So memes, because I am I would like to think that I am a funny person in general. So I think the memes come from there. And also my family, because even when we are on trips or when we are not, I'm mostly capturing them, right? Like apart from my photography, apart like those guys are my main subjects.
Yeah.
So that's why like mostly my sister, because she likes being photographed a lot, so I take a lot of her pictures. And since I don't have a lot of my pictures, so I started posting about her. So that was there. And in terms of these reels with my say mom, it was because there was this trend and I thought it would be cool. And like I realized that with what I've been doing here, my parents also, like recently over the last 1 or 2 years, they've become more sensitized to what's Instagram and what's happening, and also they also feel good about it, that I have this community here. So I thought that if this is something that they are taking in a positive light, why not showcase them also here, so that since it's all good from their end also, so why not? So I think that's probably it.
So were they aware from the beginning, or only after it got big?
No, no, they were aware of it. And initially I would tell them, like when I had just started, maybe that okay, there's this new account and ye dekho, like this is the picture I posted and it got this many likes. And at that time they might have not understood the exact meaning of what is the say importance, or why is this even important, like this many likes. But over the years it happened, like over the next 1 2 years they also got onto the platform, and then it became a thing that they kind of brag about also to relatives and all. So yeah, it feels pretty cool that way then.
So were they skeptical at like any point at the beginning? Like you had like so many people who you never have met in life following you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not at all. Because again, I myself was a big skeptic and I never posted my own pictures here. So there was no reason for them to be skeptical at all. And I think it also comes like with my sort of personality, that they know that it's okay. Like the kind of work that I'm doing here is not something that they have to be worried about. So that was there.
So like now you say you want to, bring in other kind of content too, right? Not just stick to photography. Do you think the name you choose or the brand you chose is, in a way limiting you?
Um, it might see technically, if you see, if I want to bring in other things, then obviously it seems that way. But then again, I don't mind, because if not 19 frames, I would just want to stick to my own name. So since that's not happening, because there are like so many more Shreya Agarwals out there, and I don't want to fill my username with underscores and dots. Uh, I know that 19 frames is not going anywhere. And as for the content, the primary content will always be travel and photography. But again, since a lot of like almost none of that has been happening for the last 1.5 years, I have been left with no choice also, other than to bring in other sort of content. So yeah, the name will stay and I'm okay with that also.
Do you like, feel like people subscribed or like followed you for one particular thing? So were you like worried at any point introducing other content? Like
Honestly, like yeah, go
no, no,
ahead,
go ahead, go ahead.
sorry.
I just want to ask if the reels was like completely not related to photography. Was that well received amongst the people that follow you?
So honestly, what I saw was that the reels that were non-photography were better received than my other content. And apart from that, also, I think that I don't know, like if there are people who come for very specific content to one profile, because even when you go to the internet, you don't follow just one certain type of, say, profile or content, right? You also follow multiple things. And to bring in a variety, I think it just shows more of who I am. And yeah, that's like, even if there are people who come for very specific things, either they can wait, because if they're coming for just photography or just travel, that will also eventually come. So either they can wait, or like even if they leave, it's okay, because um I know that I am not just like I mentioned, not just travel or not just photography, so I can't keep putting just that much out. So yeah, I haven't been that worried about that part.
Yeah. So how do you think Instagram is like changed? Like the attention span is, getting lower and lower with all the platforms, not just Instagram. So how do you think that plays a role in photography? Like when you take a picture, you put like so much thought and effort into it, but then as a consumer, they're not going to look at it for like, a few seconds when they're like scrolling through pages. So do you think
Yeah.
that's changed
So
over the years?
it has changed a lot, like it has changed drastically, and it has changed a lot. Like a lot of it also has to do with the way the platform is. But again, because that has conditioned people, like earlier, the timing that we talk about, that you should post at this time or this time, it was more important, because earlier, like back when I joined, everything like post used to come to your home feed in a chronological order,
Yeah.
right? That doesn't happen. Like I'm not even sure if there are people who remember that used to happen. So so yeah, like a lot has changed. Like I remember you could post hashtags. Say if I posted a picture at 8 p.m. but I added the hashtags at 10 p.m.,
It'll
then
go up.
even at like, yeah, at 10 p.m. it'll go under the hashtags. And now even if you put them at 8 1 p.m., it won't, because what, like, yeah, so it has changed a lot. There are reels and there are stories. There were no stories or other distractions earlier. So obviously it has changed a lot, and it has conditioned the way people consume this content, along with the changes in the platform itself. So yeah, definitely it has changed a lot.
So like when you're on a trip, say, do you like spend some time, like these are the photos I want to click to put as stories and these are the ones that I want to post? Like do you have like a differentiation there?
Never. So honestly, like on my trips, I all like I'm always more focused on the travel and having fun bit, and the photos are, I would say, a byproduct of it. And I think that shows also, because in my profile, if you see, it's always more of what's just out there than any of those techniques or anything. So I remember there was just one time when I specifically stopped the car because I wanted to apply a no, not stop motion. I'm forgetting the name of that also. Like the river was flowing and I want the slow shutter speed and all.
Yeah.
I wanted to try that out. So I remember doing that in Ladakh once in 2017. But apart from that, I've never tried any like different techniques or anything. I've just, again, it's always been like I am there, I see this, I liked it, I clicked it. It's never been like I want to try this out, so I'll take this particular picture, or I'll take this sort of a video because I want to create a reel. It's never been, I've never planned for my photos or content that way.
All right. So do you at least have a differentiation between like an artistic picture or just a picture to make memories? Is there a distinction in that? Like when you're taking pictures of your friends or something, do you like, look at it differently when or compared to when you're taking a landscape picture?
Yeah, because because when you are taking a picture of your friend, say, you know what the subject is, like it's a very straightforward thing that like my friends are the subject, and say whatever is in the background is the background. But if I am taking a picture just for, artistic purposes, I have the creative freedom to decide what I want to say focus on, or how I want to focus on a certain thing. So obviously the difference comes in there.
Okay. I think what I meant to is like, like do you like just click in order to capture memories, or like do you pay attention to whether things are in focus, or whether they're framed right, or the composition is right, or the lighting right, things like that.
No, no, yeah, yeah. I definitely pay attention to all that when I am clicking for the sake of, um, for myself, you can say. So because these are pictures that aren't for the people who are traveling with me, and say they are for myself. And if I think that okay, they're okay to be shared on Instagram, then for that. And obviously, when I am capturing something, I wanted to make some sort of sense that. Will make sense to me in the future also. So yeah, of course the composition and everything, it happens because I have a certain thing or a certain, say, story that instantly forms in my mind at that point of time.
Hmm. So have you printed any pictures?
I actually have, like, in my college there was a very small some society, they were doing an exhibition sort, so I printed my pictures for it for the first time. And yeah, they looked really good in print. And there was this one picture especially that garnered a lot of attention, which was basically just a dog peeing. So it's there on my profile also. I think it's from back in 2014 or 15, I don't remember. Like, that picture was taken in 2013, but I might have posted it later. But yeah, so after that I pictured, like, I printed 2 or 3 prints for home also. But then I was lazy and I didn't get them framed, so they're under some bed, I guess,
How big are
being
these?
preserved. These are A3 size prints.
Oh wow. So
Yeah.
were you happy like with the very first picture that you printed out? Like, didn't you find exposures to be off, looking at it from a backlit screen compared to looking at it on a paper?
No, no, I was very happy with the picture. And in fact, I remember it was one of my favorite pictures. It was a phone photo of basically a small space between two houses where there were a lot of red flowers that had fallen. So it was that picture, and I was like really obsessed with that picture. So I think even if it wasn't that great, I couldn't have found any fault with that. And in fact, I liked it so much, I got a customized phone cover made of it. Like, the cover was basically a print of that, and that was my phone cover for a very long time.
That's
So
really
that
nice.
was the that was the, yeah, picture, yeah. And I've always wanted to get like travel postcards printed, uh, but I said for some reason I never got around to doing it. But yeah, I am pretty, like, I'm not, like, I'm very self-critical of the pictures that I post on Instagram. But then once they are posted, I mostly like them, so I'm cool with them.
Do you ever like go back and delete something after a while?
I have, I think, archived 1 or 2 posts, but I think that's about it. I don't otherwise.
Okay. Um. So do you ever like plan on selling prints, or have you sold prints?
I haven't sold prints, and in terms of plans, I think that is some. If that's something I want to do, I'll have to like put more time into this, or like into photography, which I haven't been doing for a long time, honestly. And yeah, like, at the time when I was putting time into it, it definitely was my plan. I would go to these exhibitions, and I would think that okay, my pictures could also, like, I used to obviously think that my pictures are also good enough to be up there. But again, I was not a very active part of a lot of communities, so you can say. Like, so yeah, I don't think I ever participated enough to ever take advantage of those opportunities, and never like got around to doing much with my photography apart from what is already here on Instagram.
I mean, you could sell to your community, right?
Yeah, but then again, like, I might be a little like self-critical, you might say, or underconfident, that maybe people might not be very interested in all that. But yeah, I might
Have you
like
been asked
once
for
I
it?
reach. I a couple of times, yes, but then it would come to the price point, and I could never decide what it should be. I'm very bad with that. Um, very bad at, say, pricing my uh, art or talent, whatever you would call it. So I never got around to actually doing it. So maybe once, I am hoping that once travel picks up again and everything picks up again, especially on Instagram, I might, go ahead with the postcard plan.
That's nice. So let's talk about your experience with Corona.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how is it? When did you realize you had it? What happened? When did you go get tested?
Okay, so that's sort of like a very complicated story. Like, I actually, like last year in November, I went to Rishikesh on a vacation sorts, and when I came back from there, like I had gone there with a friend, and when I came back from there, that friend tested positive the very next day. So at that time, I was pretty sure that I would have had it, but then I had no symptoms, and I did not even, okay, I'm not proud of this, but yeah, I did not get tested, and things were just okay. And then this year in February, I went to Goa. And again, that was, I think, a 15-day trip. And I was there with some friends, with two friends. But then on the second last day of the trip, I got fever and cough and a cold. But yeah, and I was very scared because I did not want to be stuck in Goa. But then it kind of went down and things were okay, and I came back home, and I was okay after that. And then I had to go to Bangalore on a work trip, uh, 15 days after coming back to Goa, after coming back from Goa. And I, like, after I came back from Bangalore, I went to Haridwar for 2 days. So it was a very busy period of time, but I was okay throughout it all. I was just a bit tired. Like, this happened over a span of, you can say, like a month, this Goa trip. But after I came back from Haridwar, 7 days after it, like, I realized I had been having fevers for like 3-4 days constantly. So after the fourth day, I decided to go to the doctor, and I got tested for it. And he told me that I have typhoid, like, but I tested negative for corona.
Mm-hmm.
So I was, yeah, I took typhoid medicines for like 15 days. And then I was like, okay, now it's all cool, because the symptoms were pretty similar. Like, I used to be tired and I used to have fevers. There was no cough or cold, and there was no loss of sense, sorry, smell or taste. So I was pretty convinced that, okay, it's typhoid. But then, like, my 15 days ended on Friday, and then on Monday I had this pain in my lower back. So I thought that I had slept in a bad posture or something, and I went to the doctor, and to an orthopedic basically. And he told me that it's probably related to the pain that I've been having while breathing because of my, like, some infection in my lungs. So that is when I got tested for corona again, and those test results never came. Like, the lab, they just lost my test kit or something. But then I
Wow.
went to another doctor the same evening, and he made me get what do you call that test?
Rapid
A,
test.
a scan. No, no, there's a
Okay.
scan. Yeah, I'm forgetting the name. I'm so bad with names. But anyway, yeah, it was a scan, and that showed that my lungs had the COVID infection basically. So the doctor, he got me started on the medications immediately, and a week after that I got tested, and then I tested positive finally. So then he told me that what was happening probably was that I never had typhoid, but the COVID virus had entered my body, and my body was fighting with it, and it was displaying those symptoms. So yeah, it's a pretty complicated thing. I But yeah, I just had it in April this year basically.
So you now completely recovered.
Yeah, yeah, completely recovered.
Glad you did so. Um, so, so do you, like, moving back to Instagram, do you use any applications to, schedule your posts, or view your analytics better? Something like, the Facebook creator website.
No, because initially when I used to post consistently, like Creator Studio wasn't a thing, and Hootsuite and all were there. But then again, I never felt the need to use them because there wasn't a lot to post, like maybe once a day or once in 2 days. And as of late, I've not been posting that much, so I have not felt the need to use those for posting specifically. And as for analytics, I never use analytics that much to decide what to create or what sort of content to create. So I've never paid a lot of emphasis on them. But again, I feel like Instagram analytics are sort of sufficient, especially at the level at which I want to use this account. They're pretty sufficient for me. So I've not used other tools for analytics either.
Okay. Hmm. Do you prefer, like say, like you've taken a really good picture that you're very proud of, do you want to put it up as a story, or do you want to put it up as a post? Like, what decides what goes on a post and what decides what goes onto a story?
So if it's a picture that I'm say very proud of, I definitely want it to go on a post. I know that. And as for what goes on a story, mostly say when I am traveling and all the updates or all the pictures that I want to post in real time, I post them as a story. And everything that I want to say pay very specific attention to, and you know put it say or say present it independently as its own story, then I post it as a say separate post.
So do your stories like do better than your posts, or is it the other way around?
So I feel that my stories definitely do better than my post, but then again I blame my inconsistency for the same,
No, but
because when I used to be consistent, my posts would also do pretty well.
don't you think over time it is dipped for everyone?
Yeah, that obviously has happened, so that's why I can't take it in a personal stride that stories, like I can't compare stories to post that way, because again, like you mentioned, the post performance have gone down for everybody, especially with the introduction of these new formats of stories and reels and in between IGTV. So
So, so why didn't you get
sorry.
into create why didn't you create a website for yourself, maybe?
Because it was too much effort, like honestly, like I had started doing it. I even have been buying or doing like buying and renewing this domain name for myself for the past say 3 4 years, but I never get around to actually like seriously put some efforts there and building the website. So
No,
again,
because
it's all on my, yeah.
you make a lot of posts on related to food, say. So maybe you could write more about them, like more than like a blog, maybe.
So
Was that ever a
in
consideration?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, like, I've considered doing a lot of things, like, because I know that I like if I put my mind to it, there are a lot of things that I can do, but I end up doing very, very few of them. Obviously, I have considered everything. I think I made a website also using what's again, I'm forgetting the thing. Um, Never mind. Yeah, so I have considered all that, but then again, I didn't put a lot of time. Like I have this list of blogs that I've written down also, and then I've thought of posting them here and there, but then I never got around to actually posting them, because when you have to post them, then you have to insert those pictures at the right places and all those things. So I actually never got around to doing all that. So again, I have considered everything, but I have not done a lot of things.
Like guides is the next best thing I can think of compared to blogs. You can do that, right?
Yeah, yeah. So guides is again an up and coming thing, and yeah, I might get into that. It depends on, how like what I think the ROI is in terms of the time and the what I get out of it basically. So that is something I might do, and I think yeah, it's just like I have these bursts of productivity where if I just get one, I might just edit like 10, 15 pictures and I'll just put them in the gallery that yes, these are the next ones that I have to post, and I'll edit some reels and just go ahead and save them. But yeah, it all depends.
Are you worried about like how it fits into the grid and stuff?
No, no. Like I had started this grid thing. In between, I was doing this grid of three thing, but then I stopped with it. It's a lot. Like a lot goes into deciding the grid, and I realized that it doesn't even help that much, because in order for the grid to work, people have to come to your profile and see your profile, and only when the grid is complete, it'll make sense, right? So otherwise it doesn't really make sense, and sometimes you end up posting repetitive things because of it, and you restrict yourself a lot in terms of say what you want to post right now, because it might not fit into your grid. So I've tried it and I realized that that is not something that I want to do.
How many how do you think, like how important are like captions for you? How much attention do you pay to them, or like
See,
how many people do you
yeah.
think read them actually compared to all of the people who see the picture?
Um, See, again, it depends, because there are different types of audience, and people do read captions, but then again, their say probability of reading a caption relates a lot to how much they relate to you and how much they look forward to your content, and basically what information you are putting out there. Because if they only see you as a photographer and you are, say, it depends, some people come to will read the caption if there's a story behind the picture on it, or some people will read it if there are details about how you captured the photo and what are the exit details and all. So I think it varies, and it depends on your audience. And if you know your audience well, then obviously you can write the caption accordingly. And for me, I think I have always catered more to myself in terms of the caption. Like whatever comes to my mind, I just go ahead and do it. And in fact, most of the times I don't even proofread my captions, because I only feel silly reading them after I've written them. So it's like a verbal diarrhea, you can say. I just, whatever comes to my mind, I just put it there, and that's it for me.
All right. So you mentioned you got your first camera that was gifted by your parents. Have you upgraded ever since?
No, no. So in terms of DSLR, I got that in 2013. It's a Nikon D3200, and I still have that only. And I thought of upgrading quite a few times in between, but then I realized that I will want to upgrade only if I want to say pursue this very seriously, and I know that I can pursue this seriously, because it was an investment. But I realized that I wasn't ready for it at the time, and now I think I enjoy doing it more with my phone because, um, like I told you, I don't plan my content. I'm more into the travel side of it. So DSLR kind of becomes a liability there. Like it obviously is, heavy to carry around and just take out whenever you want to. So I feel more comfortable with my phone anyway. In fact, over the last, on my last 2 3 trips, I haven't even taken my DSLR. So yeah, I have not upgraded my DSLR, but I recently got a GoPro. So I might like experiment with that on my next few trips, obviously. And my phone, like I always want a good camera phone because that is what I primarily use now. So yeah.
That's interesting. Can't wait for the GoPro content to come out. So I think we'll end with talking about your experience with your pet that you fostered.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So could you share that story?
Okay, so in terms of story, basically last year was a difficult time for a lot of people, right? And we just, I kind of also was in a slum, but and I was for some reason like I was on a walk in my society downstairs, right? And I saw this guy who was just visiting a relative, I guess, and he had a small puppy that he had recently gotten, and I had always wanted a puppy at home, but my parents never wanted to have a pet at home. Like they like animals, but they don't want to have a pet. So yeah, I just came home and I was very, for some reason, I was very insistent on it that I just wanted, and like I had figured out that we could, just foster that way. We can just keep him home for some time, like keep the pet at home for some time, and you don't have to like the live with him or her forever, because the main concern is like, say, because I'm working, so if I go to the office, who will take care of him? So yeah, and also because we were at home, they sort of gave in and agreed to it. And yeah, so that's how I came across. I started messaging these pages who rescue animals and put them up for sorry, fostering or adoption. So I came across this page called Boss Paws also, and I messaged them. So most of these people, they need you to be, say, experienced somewhere or the other, right? But I had absolutely no experience with pets. So yeah, but somehow they were okay with it, and they needed an urgent foster for this pet that a person had rescued. And so this puppy was Chini. She was an indie. She was around 2.5 months old at the time. And she had a maggot wound on her head, basically. So they told me that it was recovered and there's no special attention or care that I would need to give it to her. And that for first time fosters, this would be an okay experience. And to be honest, like all of us, we went into it with very basic knowledge, with almost no knowledge of what to do or how to do. I was just very excited that my parents had said yes. And before getting the pet home, like before getting Chini home, I did not want to like talk about it much, just in case they realize what they just did. They
So they
said
never
yes to
knew.
it and get them to change their mind.
So they never
Sorry.
knew.
No, they knew about it. They had said yes, but I did not want them to realize that they might have said yes in a moment of weakness and then change their mind. So I was, I decided I'll be quiet about it. Let Chini come home, and then we'll take it from there. So honestly, like there was a mix up there also. Like I was just going through Bossip Paw's social pages, and we mistook another puppy for Chini.
Oh.
So, from the initial looks or whatever you could say, we like that puppy was smaller and Chini was 2.5 months old. So obviously there's a difference, and I had shown that puppy at home. So the night before we had to get Chini home, we realized that, oh, I realized that Chini is another puppy. And my parents might feel a bit, oh, that okay, this is a bigger puppy, it'll be tough for us. But anyway, we just went and we got her, and on the way home only, so Chini had pooped in the car, she had peed, and she had thrown up as well. and and I was like, okay, what am I getting myself into? But I don't know. Then, and that night also there was this. So we live in an apartment on second floor, and there's another room that we have above us. So I was in that room with Chini because we had decided that we like my parents did not want Chini to stay in the house, and me and Chini would stay in that room. So that night I slept with her in that room, and she pooped 6 times in that room. And I honestly thought that night that I have made a big mistake. I'll have to message Sonam, like the girl from Boss tomorrow, and tell her that I'm sorry. We are very inexperienced and we can't do this. But in the morning, when my mom came and she saw what had happened, I took it off from work that day because I was so tired. I could not sleep the entire night. And then we cleaned the room, and then we like then my mom was like, okay, you can't just stay like this in this room, and we then stayed at home. And then like slowly like we started training her bit by bit. Like what training? We knew nothing. Like we would just yell at, like we would just start screaming when she would start pooping, and like take her to the balcony to poop and everything. Like that's how we taught her how, like, where to poop and pee. But yeah, like all in all, it was a beautiful experience. Like, I don't know, it somehow feels that she was the perfect puppy for us to get home, and she just learned everything very quickly. She was there with us for 3 months. She was supposed to live with us for 1.5 months only, but then she never got adopted in India because she was a female, she was an indie, and she had that maggot wound. And I realized that people are very like superficial there. So she was not getting adopted, so she ended up staying with us for 3 months. And yeah, and in between we have done like ridiculous things. Like once she swallowed this disposable glove that we have, that blue colored disposable glove.
Yeah.
And we were so worried. Like that night, like I just googled, and half the people said that you should go and get a surgery, like she should get a surgery, and half the people said that it just passed. So we waited for the next morning, and we had just gotten her around I think half a month back. So I was just talking to a friend, and I was just telling him that I got it like I'm fostering a puppy, and he said that send a picture. And coincidentally at that time only Chini had gone to poop, so I thought it would be funny if I send a video of her pooping. And I went and I made that video, and I realized that the glove was coming out, and I was so happy. Like it was it was such a happy moment for me. Trust me, I went and I was yelling that, oh, that glove is coming out, that glove is coming out. And then I got a tissue paper. Since she had already eaten the glove, I got a tissue paper, and she was having a very hard time like passing out a part of that glove. So I actually pulled it out
Yeah.
using that tissue paper. So I know it's an inappropriate story because a lot of people are not comfortable with poop talks, but it's a very special story to me, so I can't stop telling it to people. So yeah, we've done ridiculous things, and it was very fun. Like, yeah, it was a good time. And like, my mom used to be scared of dogs. Like, she would not like run away from them, but she could not like pet other dogs like that. But now she's so comfortable that when we go out, she can like, she beckons the, she calls stray dogs and she pets them and she feeds them. And also it has changed a lot of things at home also, regarding the perspective and regarding the ease and comfort with stray animals. So it was a beautiful experience. And now Chini is in Canada, like she got adopted in Canada, so she's in Canada and staying there.
So how did your family take it, like letting her go finally?
We were all very upset. Like there was this so she was like, when she was staying here, she wasn't allowed to enter the kitchen and my parents bedroom. And like I told you, she was somehow a very smart dog. Like I think dogs are smart that way and they understand, and she would never enter that those rooms. But the day before she was supposed to leave, like at night, she entered the room, and I don't know, she somehow knew that we would be okay with it, and we were okay with it, you know, given that it was her last night and everything. And that whole night she did not sleep also. And then even when we left, so she did not directly go to Canada from our place, but since we couldn't keep her for longer, her previous foster family, who had kept her for 2.5 months, they only took her in for another month or two. So we had to drop her to their place. So we just dropped her there. We did not talk a lot about it because all of us were very upset, and it felt so weird when we came back home because, you know, we had ordered food from outside and somebody rang the bell and nobody was barking at that
Yeah.
point. And then, you know, we started realizing how it's so empty without her. But yeah, and but now it's, you know, all a good memory because we talk about her and how these were these cute silly things that she used to do, or how she would react in these certain situations. So everybody misses her, and it just had a very positive impact overall. And like before she left for Canada also, we went and met her at their place, at the other foster's place.
Yeah.
So yeah, like when we went there, it had been I think 2 months since we had dropped her there. And like she actually, like I didn't know whether she would remember us or not, but she remembered us and she played with us, and it was just very nice. Like everything was very nice.
Yeah, that's a sweet story. So was this name that you people had come up with, or the previous
No, no.
foster?
So the rescuer, Bossip Paws, they had only come up with the name, and then they had given us the option to change the name. But I don't know, somehow when we heard the name Chini, it just seemed like it's the right name, so we never like changed it. So yeah.
So since the entire experience was this positive, do you plan on getting a pet soon?
When once I move out, and you know, I'll have to figure out how to actually practically keep a pet, because you know the concerns that, say, when you leave for work the pet has to stay back. Obviously they are trained that way, but I need to, like, I will be talking to some more people and getting some more information on how to manage it. But yes, I definitely plan on getting a pet in the future. And like apart from that also, if not, like if I'm for some reason not able to get a pet, till the time I'm not able to get a pet, I'll be fostering. I plan on fostering more animals, because till the time animals are adopted, there is always a need for fostering, like mostly.
Yeah.
So I would definitely be doing that once I move out.
All right. I think we should end with that. I think we'll spend another few minutes if there are any questions from the audience.
Sure.
So if anybody has some questions, they can raise their hand and we can bring you up on stage.
Yeah, I don't think anybody has any questions. I've spoken a lot today. Like it's been a very long time since I spoke this much, but I realized that I have spoken a lot today. So there might not have been scope for more questions.
All right, then I think we should wrap up. Thank you so much for
Sure,
coming.
sure. Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, then. Bye.
Yeah, bye. I was like, I have to mention that I was very skeptical of doing this because I wasn't sure of what I was going to say. But I think you asked all the right questions, and turns out I have a lot to say about everything. So I think it went okay that way. But yeah, thanks for doing this.
No,
It
thank
was
you, thank
fun.
you, thank you for coming.
Yeah. Okay
Yep.
then.
Bye.
Bye.